so many of the filmmakers that I've been lucky to work with would be canceled today. Everybody leave. Matthew has to cry. You just wouldn't get away with that kind of behavior today. It's not just a role that I want to play. It's a person that I want to be.
All right, Matthew.
Oh my God, I'm going to come here every morning.
You can. You're welcome. You'll be around, won't you? So
I'll be here.
That is a possibility.
Yeah.
So To Kill a Mockingbird has amazing reviews. You've been involved in it already. You can steal the 5-star reviews it's already achieved here. They're not yet yours, really, because you don't start till the 21st of November. But you can have them, can't you? That's a tightrope.
I can. Yeah, I just hijacked them.
Yeah, good for you. When did you land? What's your preparation been like for this amazing play?
We've been here about. This started the third week of rehearsals now, and starting to feel confident, feeling...
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, it's 130 pages of text. Right. Aaron Sorkin is the author of Harper Lee's book, the adaptation and making it into a play. And he kind of happily says that there's more dialogue for the Atticus Finch than Hamlet, and it's a lot. It's an amazing part, and it's an important part. While it's about systemic racism in the United States and the judicial system, it's about something much bigger. It's about that anybody who has to run away from something because they're scared. And because of their race or their religion, it's about that. It's about something that happens around the world. Justice is supposed to be blind, and if we can't get a fair trial because of our sexual orientation or our sex or the color of our skin, then the judicial system is a lie.
It also contains one of the greatest, most inspirational, profound, prescient lines ever written, which is trying to do the right thing is the right thing, which is it's just the best line. I think about it every day.
Yeah.
Just trying to do the right thing. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work out. Trying to do the right thing is the right thing. It's as right as you can do, I think. Matthew. Oh.
I'm looking out your window.
Yeah, sorry about
that.
Thinking,
in 1984 or 5, Stanley Kubrick made his Vietnam just across the river here.
I know.
At the Isle of Dogs.
Where do we want to go with you and your career? Do you know what I did last night, Matthew? What did I do last night? What did I watch last night in preparation for you coming in today? What did I watch?
Full Metal Jacket.
No. What? Go again.
Birdie.
I watched Birdie last night.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful... Peter Gabriel did the music. It was his first time he did a score for a film, and he's really my voice. He speaks for me in the film.
But you and Nicolas Cage, I mean, I don't know many people who've seen Birdie, but what a film. What a film. Just explain what that film is. I want people to watch Birdie this weekend.
First, I have to tip my hat to Alan Parker, who's, I think, arguably one of the greatest filmmakers ever, and he just passed away last year, and such a tremendous man, and it was a book that people said could never be made into a film. I auditioned for Nicolas Cage's part, and when Alan called me and said I was going to be in the film, I said, "Are you going to change the character's name?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Am I going to play an Italian American, or are you going to change his name to something more white, waspy?" And he said, "No, you're going to play Birdie." And I said, No, I auditioned for Al Colombato. And he said, "Yeah, but you're going to be great. You're going to play Birdie." And I swear, I got down on my hands and knees and begged for everybody that's been misunderstood and beaten up by life and wants justice to exist in the world to help me to play that role of Birdie. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual, and I felt like my body was filled with the spirit of people who were misunderstood, and they guided me and helped me get through that film. Alan wanted Birdie to die. He was up on the roof.
Yeah.
At the end of the film, he wanted Birdie to jump off the building and be dead. And the studio, his family, the crew, everybody didn't want Birdie to die. And when we were up on the roof, and he saw that second level, so it would just be like a 10-foot jump. And then he said, and he'll jump and he'll turn around and look at me and say, "What?" Like he has the rest of the bloody movie. And that was it.
It's so cool. Yeah. Watch Birdie. Watch it. You will love that film. So Matthew, that was not the beginning, but it was at the beginning, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
Let's talk now about Full Metal Jacket. So, you know, I came in this morning and Mira says, our producer, I said, Matthew Modine's on the show, Emma's on the show. She says, yeah. And I said, but Matthew Modine. And she looked at me and she is very respectful of you and your oeuvre. But she said, what? I said, well, this is the guy that turned down Maverick. Matthew turned down the role of Maverick in Top Gun. But there are reasons for that, and we'll talk about that in a moment or two. But what's interesting about the whole squaring of the circle about Top Gun and you and Full Metal Jacket, you know, and to a certain extent Birdie as well, because that was about Vietnam, was or had Vietnam in it, which was sort of anti-war, anti-military, and in many ways, I'm sort of answering the question that I haven't even asked yet. But Val Kilmer, who ended up being in Top Gun and was in the recent Top Gun as well, is the reason that you got the job in Full Metal Jacket. This is such a funny story.
Yeah.
And and therefore, Val Kilmer, who subsequently has been in both Top Guns, was the reason that Matthew was offered the role of Maverick and had the chance to turn it down. So tell us about the pivotal the pivotal involvement of Val Kilmer in your life, please.
So we just won a Best Acting Award at the Venice Film Festival. And I was sitting with David Alan Grier in a restaurant that was made famous by Woody Allen in a movie called Annie Hall. And we were laughing because in movies it's funny when cars drive into restaurants, but in real life people get killed. And so we were laughing.
Not so funny.
Yeah, not so funny. And I was looking across the room in this restaurant called The Source in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard. And there was a guy looking at me, clearly saying a lot of obscenities directly in my face. David Allen looked over his shoulder and he says, oh, that's Val Kilmer. He's a really nice guy. And he knew him from Top Secret. And he got up and he went over and started talking to him. And he waved me over. He said, come over and say hi. So I go over, hi, my name's Matthew Modine. And he goes, yeah, I know who you are. I'm sick of you, man. I'm sick of you. And I said, well, I'm the youngest of 7 kids. I've been fighting my whole life. If you have a problem, let's just take it outside. And David says, oh, knock it off, you two. And then he started talking about streamers and Vision Quest and this list of films that I had done that Val could clearly have also been in Vision Quest. He maybe even could have been in Birdie.
And may have been up for them.
May have been up for them. Yeah. Certainly probably auditioned. And he said, and now you're doing Stanley Kubrick's movie, Full Metal Jacket. And I said, listen, I'm not going to apologize for the jobs that I've got, but you can rest assured I'm not doing Full Metal Jacket. You had to audition. You had to find somebody with a big VHS camera, film you, and then post the video to London, to Stanley Kubrick's estate, you know, where he was looking at the auditions. And that was kind of a new thing then. People didn't self-tape and send tapes, but, you know, Kubrick, always being ahead of the curve, was having people self-tape. And so Val says, and now you're doing Stanley Kubrick's movie. And I said, I'm not doing it because I didn't audition. So rest assured, I'm not doing the movie. So I ran outside, called my manager, and he said he didn't know anything about it. And I said, well, Harold Becker's editing Vision Quest, which is Warner Brothers, which is where Stanley Kubrick makes his movies, and Alan Parker's in London. I'll call Alan and ask him to send some scenes over. And the rest is history. I got the job.
But did he send you a letter or something saying, hi, my name's Stanley Kubrick, I'd like to offer you this gig? Or
extraordinary. Yeah, Stanley Kubrick introduced himself as, I'm a film director. Hi, my name is Stanley Kubrick. I'm a film director, and I'm interested in you for this film that I'm making. Would you read it? He didn't say which part it was. When I first started reading, I thought maybe it was Pyle that Vincent D'Onofrio played because of Birdie, you know, this introvert, broken kind of person. And then as I continued reading, I thought, oh, geez, I hope it's Joker. That's such a good role. Yeah. And that's what it was. And so,
how long did it? Because he was famous, wasn't he, for Stanley Kubrick, for very long shoots, proper filmmaking. You know, if you forgive the expression. How long did it take to make that film? What was that like to work with that man?
I was here for 2 years. I was in England for 21 months.
They don't make them like that anymore, do they?
No. And there was an accident. The drill instructor, R. Lee Ermey, got in a car accident at in Epping Forest. Is that right?
Epping? Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, Epping Forest.
In Essex, yeah.
he got the steering wheel crushed his chest, and it made it very difficult for him to do all that yelling he had to do. So there was a break there. Vincent D'Onofrio gained all that weight and blew his knee out jumping over one of the obstacles. So there were things that happened that slowed production down. But it was an extraordinary experience working with Stanley Kubrick. I can't compare the experience to any other film that I've worked on because I never had that kind of relationship with another director.
I was thinking today and last night, about that film and about films like that back in, the 80s. That was 1987. They don't make films like that. They really don't make films like that because they can't. So we now see films that mean something, but films on such a scale that mean something, it's too much of a risk. So the big $200-300 million production budgets are usually to do with franchises, aren't they now? And films of great meaning and great usefulness and efficacy for us are still produced, but they're just not given those kind of budgets. That does not happen anymore. And it's funny again for a lot of the production team, these were blockbuster movies that had a real message, and it's Marvel stuff now. They've woven the message of morality and what's important in life into, which is really cute and which is really nice, and they're much better than we ever thought they could possibly be. But it's different now.
It is, and in this, and it's a necessary change. The kind of culture of how we speak to one another and how we treat one another. But Stanley Kubrick, Alan Parker, John Schlesinger, Alan Pakula. I mean, so many of the filmmakers that I've been lucky to work with would be canceled today because of their behavior on set, And, Alan Parker, when one of the scenes, he said, you have to cry today. And I said, yeah. He goes, do you have trouble crying? Because I can, and he just, you have to cry. And then he just started pushing. Is it bother you that the crew is around? I can make the crew leave. Everybody leave. Matthew has to cry. And you just wouldn't get away with that kind of behavior today. I thought it was funny that Alan Parker was trying to make me cry in that sort of method. But I think that it probably had worked with maybe on Fame or Bugsy Malone or something where there was an emotional scene and the actor didn't have the tools to do it, and so he pushed him, and so he thought he'll try that on me.
Gary Oldman was saying exactly the same thing yesterday in that chair about those kind of characters.
And those kind of directors.
Yeah, exactly those kind of things. Do you think that now, because of Stranger Things, which is couldn't be any bigger, I don't think it could. Could it be any bigger, Stranger Things?
So let's say Full Metal Jacket was successful in 60 territories around the world. That would be an enormous success. Netflix is in over 190 territories around the world.
Yes.
And
there's only 192 countries, so it's just missing the two.
Yeah. Millie Bobby Brown, the young girl that I co-star with in Stranger Things, has a kind of power and success that never existed before Netflix, before streaming. And it's in some way it makes you become a little bit of a product. I feel like a Coca-Cola sometimes that I'm more than the label, that there's a whole human being inside here that's had a career of spanning 4 decades. And I don't know, you've had a lot of pop stars on the show, and what if you just get one hit wonder and you sing that song for the rest of your life? Is that a bad thing?
Well, it's one more than most people.
Yeah, it's one more than most. Well done, Chris.
No, you're welcome, Matthew. So let's talk about To Kill a Mockingbird. Atticus Finch. Just tell us about your personification of him. Give us the top 10 attributes of good and bad of his character.
Oh my goodness.
Or top 3.
I love that. His
main flavors.
Wants to find goodness in everybody. That we shouldn't judge another person until we get inside their skin and crawl around.
Not then.
Yeah, and crawl around it. But then at the same time, you can't forgive everybody. That this is the lesson that Atticus Finch is trying to learn, is that while he wants to forgive everybody, that while he wants to try to find the goodness that's in everybody, there's just some people that are monsters that don't deserve it. That's
Sometimes you have to call it like it is.
you have to call it like it is.
Yeah. Wow. And all that dialogue. So for any kids or mums and dads listening, because my kids have got a lot of exams this week, only mock exams, but they're still under pressure to learn and remember things.
Yeah.
Any tricks for, because how many pages of dialogue do you have?
It's 130 pages of text. Yeah,
Little frog in the throat, just
Yeah.
thinking. It's
yeah, 130 pages.
And
Yeah.
you're, where are you? So you're 20, it's easy, isn't it? 21st, you're 20 days away from opening night.
Oh God, you're giving me anxiety.
Sorry about that. Where do you feel the anxiety? Is it in the chest?
Yeah, you sort of right across the diaphragm. Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to do. And also, it's going really well. You can only mess this up, can't you?
Yeah.
It's doing all right, isn't
The
it?
show is doing. On Broadway. It's the most successful show in the history of Broadway.
There you go. So that'll be that
No
then.
pressure.
When does it feel like all the lines have landed?
I think after you have your first couple preview audiences, and you're never going to really know it in the rehearsal room. You're going to know it when you get up in front of an audience and stumble through those first couple performances.
How much are you looking forward to it?
A great deal. You know, I like playing. I mean, the reason I didn't want to climb into Maverick's skin in Top Gun was just that I didn't want to perpetuate that kind of lie, you know, of the military might. It's interesting, if you look at Stanley Kubrick's, all of the films that he's made, he kind of made the same film over and over again. That if we continue to use violence to solve our problems, then we're no different than that early man at the beginning of 2001: A Space Odyssey, who discovers that a bone can be used to crush and kill another human being. That we have to evolve away from that. That as long as we use violence to solve our problems, we're no different than that primordial man. And we have to evolve away from that. So that's why I didn't want to participate in Top Gun. I didn't want to use American military might to be the solution to our problems. That said, now here we are doing To Kill a Mockingbird. When you take a role like this, it's not just a role that I want to play. It's a person that I want to be. I want to be that person. You know, I want to have that kind of morality and that belief in the goodness of human beings.
I think you are that person.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know you, but I've read a lot about you. I've always loved what you do. Is it down to your dad managing movie theatres?
That was the most magical childhood that a person.
Is that when you fell in love with the movies?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, and you know, I remember Sean Connery, you know, from the James Bond movies, but then all of a sudden we'd have a second feature, and I'd see him in a movie called Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and then The Man Who Would Be King, and
he was film acting as opposed to film starring.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Wasn't it?
And I realized that it was a profession. I saw a documentary about the making of Oliver, the Mark Lester film, and Richard Lester. I don't remember. Mark Lester.
Yeah.
And I realized that that you know, what I thought was a documentary, movies must be real, and it was a real life thing. That there were these children learning to sing those songs and learning those dances, and I thought, well, that's a really fun profession. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. So I started taking tap dancing lessons when I was 10, 11 years old. Yeah,
you fell in love. All right, well, I'm so glad you did, Matthew. You have not disappointed. They say never meet your heroes, but don't listen to those guys. You're amazing.
Thank you, Chris.
You're so cool.